500 generations, 500 human generations. Now that's an explosion. It's not just genes. It can't be, not in 500 generations. In fact, it's due to a second information highway from parents to offspring. There's the traditional Darwinian gene highway, the vertical gene transmission, vertical meaning descending from parent to offspring. But then there's a second highway, the vertical cultural transmission from parent to offspring, the stuff you learn at mother's knee or going hunting with dad and so forth. Now, in a wonderful book by Pete Richardson and Rob Boyd called Not by Genes Alone, they talk about the conditions under which this second highway would get built and what would happen once it was built. So the cultural highway, once it's in place, it can be invaded. Reminds you of the internet, spam, things like that. Once it's in place, it can be invaded, and you can get what they call oblique transmission. That is not from parent to offspring, but from next door neighbor to offspring, and peer to offspring, and demagogue on the street corner to offspring. You get, in short, what they call road cultural variants. These road cultural variants have another name, perhaps more familiar, introduced by one of your earlier Beyond speakers, Richard Dawkins. That's what he calls memes. Memes are analogous to genes in the sense that they are the vehicles of information. This is cultural information, not genetic information. As he points out, they're like viruses. What's a virus? It's a sort of naked gene. It's pretty much all gene. Or as I like to say, a virus is a string of nucleic acid with attitude. It's not alive. It's just a macromolecule, not unlike those motor proteins. It's absolutely ignorant. But it happens to be blessed with a shape that gives it a power to do an amazing thing. It finds its way into a cell, commandeers the copy machinery of that cell, and gets that cell to make copies of it rather than of the cell's own DNA. That's how viruses replicate. And of course, they are objects of natural selection without any doubt at all. HIV, a well-known virus, has evolved more if you simply look at its genome and compare its genome today with its genome when it was first sequenced just years ago. And in that time, there's been more change in the HIV genome than there has been in the human genome since we parted company with our common ancestor, with the chimpanzee. Does evolution happen? You bet it does. Well, now a meme is a data structure made of information with attitude. So it's the same sort of thing as a virus. It doesn't get into a cell to get copied, it gets into a brain and exploits the brain's tremendous capacity for being a copy machine to make more copies of itself, to get rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and then broadcast out into the world. Now, I know I have to deal with, there is a wave, a wall, a prevailing wind of repugnance and skepticism to the idea of memes, both among people in the humanities and social sciences, and even among a lot of Harvard and evolutionary biologists. They're not sure about this idea at all. And one of the most common complaints I get, they get asked, what evidence is there that memes even exist? We know genes exist. What makes you think memes exist? What evidence is there that memes exist? Well, I have a new way of dealing with that. First of all, how many of you believe that words exist? Are there words, along with the rest of the things in the world? Yeah, I certainly think words exist. Well, words are memes that can be pronounced. They are simply a subset of memes. If you believe in words, then you believe in memes. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not going to have time to defend that hypothesis, that claim in detail here, because I want to talk about what follows from it instead of how to defend it. follows is that we're basically apes with infected brains. Or, a better way of saying it is that we're euprimates, like eukaryotes. Our brains have been invaded by virtual machines, that's the means, designed by natural selection. And these virtual machines give us powers that give us the versatility to take organization up a level. When you take in a meme, you're taking in something that is the product of a lot of R&D. And you just, boom, you just help yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent calculus. You don't have to reinvent maths or writing or reading or cost-benefit analysis or alphabetizing words or any of the other things that you learn. Those are all means. You get these beautifully designed virtual machines. You just pack them into your head. No R&D costs to you are very, very minimal. Our power, the power that made the McCready Revolution happen, or explosion happen, it depends on the culture that permits us to divide labor and share expertise. We're not all engineers, we're not all doctors. Some people are biologists, and others are cooks, and others are farmers, and so forth. From this perspective, we can see that both spider webs and power grids, World Wide Web, these are artifacts made by eukaryotes. They're all fruits on the tree of life, both the beaver dam and the Hoover Dam. Both the bird's nest and the ode to the nightingale. These are artifacts all, but the ones on the right, the human ones, are rather different in that they are made with this extra important ingredient, all of the design, all of the mind tools that come from cultural evolution. So now I want to describe the delicate transition from bottom-up Darwinian R&D to top-down creative genius type of R&D. One of my favorite sayings from a former student of mine, you can't do much carpentry with your bare hands, you can't do much thinking with your bare brain. What you need are thinking tools. Fortunately, there's a lot of them hanging around. All you have to do is pick them up and install them. In other words, words are tools. They're not the only tools, they're not the only means, but I'll concentrate on them. Words are not always elements of grammatical construction. Sometimes they have standalone uses. For instance, passwords and labels are wonderful little devices for accomplishing, for speeding up jobs. They're great little cognitive crutches. We didn't design them, but we benefit from the design. In Doug Hofstadter's 2006 book, I in a Strange Loop, he gives us a little toolkit. Here are some of the tools in his toolkit.